My name is Karim Ben Khalifa. I'm a journalist, I'm a storyteller. It's a great honor to be asked to talk about that. I will do my best, even though, as I tell you in our email exchange, that Ukraine is not really my specialty and something that I know deeply. But as an observer of that conflict and a practitioner of conflicts, and as a journalist, I've been looking at a bigger picture on conflict, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. I have been working in conflicts for almost a quarter century. First, as a photojournalist working for magazines such as the New York Times Magazine, Vanity Fair, Stern Magazine, or Le Monde here in Paris. And in 2013, I started working with new medium, such as virtual reality, where I was not trying to show conflict through virtual reality. To try to show one thing that I've discovered while I was on the ground covering those conflicts is the humanity of each party on both sides, the basic humanity. And what I mean by basic humanity, I'm talking about people who care for their children, who are working towards the future for peace, even though if they are engaged in a war. And there is commonality in between both sides that is rarely talked about, even less recognized by each of the party. And this is quite simple to understand. In order to engage in a fight, in order to wage a war, you need to dehumanize the other side. Therefore, this inability to recognize some basic humanity that the other side is holding as much as you are yourself holding. And so this is really something I've been interested in showing, trying to make the invisible tangible through an experience. There is different levels to where you can watch a war or try to understand a war. Watch a war is probably the wrong words. There is the geopolitical forces that are pushing for wars, and then you have the people themselves, which are either waging also a war or either being victim of the war. And on both sides of the conflict, you always have those people. When you look at this war in between Ukraine and Russia, obviously there is an aggressor and there is an aggressed. There is two different peoples, and one didn't decide to wage a direct war on the other. But I think one thing that needs to be really taken care of and being very gentle with is we need to separate those two things. But by separating governments and policies and separating the people themselves, we're already making a good step in the right direction, because normal Russian people or normal or regular Ukrainian people are not necessarily enemy. And when you have a war, you obviously hope for that war to stop. And if that war stops, that means peace. And if peace needs to be implemented, you need to overcome the dehumanization that was put in place through communication, through propaganda, in order to find the other one and the commonality with the other one. And this is exactly what I've been trying to do through my work, but there is definitely this need to go back to basics. And the commonality we have with the other is our daily lives. We all need water. We all need love. We all have kids or are planning on having kids. And so with this, the legacy of the future, we need to keep in mind this commonality and look for it. Because if we just listen to the noise, we tend to forget that. And that is what war communication is really trying to do. They are trying to simplify and put everyone in the same bag from one perspective or the other. And so we need to keep along the way that the other side has still a lot of commonality, and there needs to be really a strong will to keep separating what is geopolitical from what is the human side of it. So I wasn't asking those fighters to give me answer as how to fix those conflicts. I was asking them, what is peace for them? What is violence for them? And when they replied through the I think violence is this, or I think peace, evoke that. This is where you see the commonality with the other side. And once you've discovered that commonality, at least you know you have a link with the other one. I think it's an add-on in the landscapes of communication around that war. But I think it's important to remain human ourselves and to recognize the humanity on the other side and to not lose sight of that very simple fact. And myself was working on refugees arriving from Ukraine a couple of weeks ago for the newspaper Le Monde in Paris. This is absolutely extraordinary what is happening. And I think this is a beautiful sign that we're still remaining with this humankind and this kindness we have in ourselves in order to help other people who are suffering, who are displaced, and who are at the end of the day completely lost. We find in the other a fear we have in ourselves, and we're trying to alienate this fear by helping the other. And I think it is a fantastic thing to witness and to see, and it's really people coming and not being able to stand just in front of the television and saying what is happening, but saying, I need to take part, I need to help at my own little level. And when I was in the main train station in Berlin, photographing refugees arriving, I could also see regular German people just with a sign in their hands. I have a room, I can welcome 3 people, a family with 1 kid, or one mother with 2 kids. Please come, this is my sign, let's help each other, I'm here to help you out. This is fantastic. It's an amazing generosity to do so. It's really from the human level, I can do something. And even if it's like 2 or 3 people, I would have make a little difference. But if you have hundreds of thousands of people doing so in Poland, which is the case, in Poland, in Germany, in France, in Belgium, people are opening their homes. And yes, in a very simple way. And this is really uplifting the moods of looking at what we can do and giving an example, a very strong example. Now, on the more critical side, we had those waves of refugees a few years ago from Syria coming to Europe. And we had a very different reactions. People were scared that it was a movement within which terrorists would be smuggled in and attack us. And there was a clear visual difference with mothers coming with a veil and 2 kids having darker hair and darker skin. And you could not see the same outpouring generosity coming from the people. And this is disturbing, because at the end of the day, we are in a very similar situation. You have civilians living a situation in which they are in danger. And on one side, because we can see that they look more like us, we are opening our doors, but when they don't look like us, we are ignoring their suffering. And we're leaving governments or NGOs dealing with that. And this is a sad thing. So I hope this crisis is also waking us up to the very same basic humanity that needs to be applied regardless of the color of the skin, regardless of the origins of the refugees. Nobody leaves his home, nobody left life behind just because they can have a better life in another place. They do so because they are forced to. And we need to forget the fact that when you have a different skin colors, or you come from a different part of the world, you can't do the same. It is the same. Those are human beings. We stop relying only on the governmental voice to take care of the situation. We realize that each at our own level can do something about it. And the fact that the people are realizing this shows the extent of empathy and compassion we all have. So now what is happening with Ukraine is really, it's somehow strange to realize that with those people in particular and then being blind off for the same things happening for other people from different parts of the world. I think we just need to take that example and acquire this as a knowledge and apply it to everyone who's suffering. And I don't know if I'm not going to be in that situation in 5 years from now, or in 2 months from now, or in 20 years from now. Nobody can tell that. But by acting today, we are also acting for ourselves. And we can all do it at our own level. Nothing has been asked to do something we could not do. There is one thing that we all share. We didn't choose where we were born. We didn't choose if we were born in a wealthy family or in a poor family, in a refugee camp or in the center of a city that is thriving and open-minded. We need to do with what we have, but we all need to recognize the privilege we have, if we have so, and give and work with those privilege towards a common world where everyone has more privilege, where everyone has an equal chance to thrive, to study, to grow, and to become a better human being.